backlog is an essential tool for collecting and organizing the work that you need to get done. And Scrum takes us to another level by creating both a product and a sprint backlog. And so today here on Everyday Design, I'm going to cover the differences between the sprint and the product backlog and how to use them together. So let's go. Have you ever had a to-do list that grew faster than you could get things done? Or maybe you began working on something and halfway through someone came in and told you, no, wait, no, this is now more important. And you switched focus and you started to make progress there. And then they came in again and said, no, focus on this. Well, that is both really frustrating and really common. It occurs in both small and large organizations. It helps to have a list, but if everyone can change, add to, reorder your list, then how can you make progress? I've watched teams get sidetracks as executives take turns coming in and reprioritizing everyone's work to their favorite projects. But I've also helped these same kind of teams use Scrum's two-backlog approach to create a safe space of focus to get the work done that they've already agreed to. So the purpose of a backlog is to delineate both the scope, the priority, and the focus. And in Scrum, there are two backlogs. Like I said before, there's the product backlog and the sprint backlog. And the product backlog, it establishes the scope and the priority for the project. So if it's not in the product backlog, then it's not part of the plan. The product backlog has priority that's demonstrated in the order. So you keep the higher priority, more defined things at the top, the lower priority, less defined things towards the bottom. And that ordering is the job of the product owner. They synthesize input from stakeholders, team members, customers, everybody, as they figure out what's the value in that backlog. The product backlog helps answer the question, is this work part of the project? But because the product backlog is somewhat exhaustive, it is constantly changing and adapting, it's not a great list for the team to work from. And that's where the sprint backlog comes in. So the sprint backlog, it clarifies what is the team focused on during the sprint, for the duration of their sprint. If it's outside the sprint backlog, like if it's still over here in the product backlog, then they're not focused on it right now. They're not doing it during the sprint. The expectation is that everything in the sprint backlog will get completed within that sprint and that the team is protected from having anything else added, thrown in there mid-sprint. So the sprint backlog is essentially the team's sprint to-do list. It doesn't change, which is great. So let's look at kind of a workflow of how does work make it into these backlogs so you can kind of see it in action. So let's say after engaging with stakeholders, team members, or customers, the product owner creates a product backlog item, or a PBI. They will then order it within the product backlog according to priority, kind of balancing the value it delivers with all the other items in there, and considering any timing factors. Does something later on depend on getting it done? Next, the Scrum team will review items during the backlog refinement session, and they'll ask clarifying questions to better understand, hey, what's this? What problem is this solving? What value are we delivering? They probably use things like user stories or acceptance criteria to define that. They may add some other details to the PBI, and they'll probably use story points to help size the PBI. And story points is just a measurement that helps estimate how much work it takes to get something done. At this point, the product owner might reorder that PBI within the backlog. Now they have that increased clarity, but they don't have to. That's not a requirement. So, okay, now we move forward. We got the product backlog item defined. It's in the list. Everyone knows what it is. It's time for the new sprint to begin. The team will select the top items from the product backlog and move them to their sprint backlog. And during the sprint, they'll focus on just the sprint backlog, choosing items, completing them, moving on, picking another one, completing it, and just working their way through. Now, when the sprint concludes, all those completed items are presented during the sprint review. They're considered done, everyone celebrates. Now, sometimes something doesn't get done. Now, if it isn't accepted by the product owner, that PBI may get adjusted and added back into the product backlog, and maybe it doesn't. A couple of other notes regarding backlogs. Both backlogs are the product and the sprint are visible to others outside the team. Stakeholders can see what work is active or coming up. And if anyone wants to know how long till this future feature that's here in the product backlog is till it's delivered, the PO can just look at what work is ahead of it, how many story points does it take, what's the team's velocity, and they can estimate that because the product backlog is ordered by how they're going to get it done. you can use Scrum's backlogs to protect your team's focus, allowing them to get the highest value work done. I really love how the Sprint Backlog protects the team and provides safety by giving them a block of time that's theirs to focus and get the selected work complete. Using Scrum's backlogs, you can say goodbye to new work coming in and sabotaging the previously selected work, or having the team spread so thin across so much work that they don't really finish anything and everything kind of sits at 80% done. So let's not do that anymore. Check out the Product and Sprint Backlogs from Scrum. If you want, there's a lot more resources down in the description, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you want more content like it, please like and subscribe. Thanks.